The face-off between India and China at the line of actual control has intensified after PLA troops violated the consensus arrived at during the previous army-level meetings. On the night of 29th and 30th, Chinese army carried out provocative military movements at Pangong Lake to change the status quo. The Indian troops preempted the move and thwarted China's move. Army has said that while India wants to continue peace through dialogue, it will do everything to protect its territorial integrity. A brigadier-level meeting is currently underway at Sushant to resolve the issue. Government has also reacted to the situation. Prime Minister Modi is holding a series of meetings. Ladakh LG R.K. Mathur is presently in Delhi. Meanwhile, in view of the recent situation, the Srinagar-Leh highway has been closed for civilian traffic movement. So that's the situation as it is developing there along the line of actual control. This is the second instance where we are seeing China once again trying to change the status quo there. We've been speaking to experts about what this means. Listen in to what Lieutenant General D.S. Huda had to say on this matter while speaking to CNN News 18.
Why do you think the Chinese are doing this? Are they sending a message? What are they trying to do here?
So, Shreya, actually, if you look at the tone and tenor of how, this whole disengagement process has gone on, after some initial success in disengagement at BB14 and BB15, thereafter everything remained stalled. The Chinese ambassadors clearly said, at least about Pangong, that this is their understanding of, where their traditional border lies.
Correct.
So what we are seeing is actually not a desire to sort out this process, despite whatever, verbally they may be saying. But there's certainly, what I can make out is a hardening of position on their side. And while we are talking about, engaging through diplomatic, at the diplomatic level and through military-to-military contact, the fact is the Chinese are still continuing to use the military option. I mean, obviously, they've used military force to try and come into an area where there's never been a dispute in the past. So I think this is only going to lead to a certain amount of escalation. And I dare say, we need to start re-looking at our own strategies and policies with regard to how we are going to deal with this intrusion in Eastern Ladakh. If the Chinese continue to do what they're doing, so one, major issue for us was restoration of status quo ante, and that they should go back. Forget about restoration of status quo ante. They're now trying to change the status quo in other areas. I see it as leading to greater tension on both sides. Now, obviously, the Indian Army would be concerned that if they are attempting to do something in, on the southern bank and the Chushul sector, where next? Obviously, this will mean, a further beefing up of troops along the LAC. It will mean greater tension. Why the period of October-November is important is because, as we say, it's the campaigning season. It's where, some kind of operational contingencies can be exercised before winter comes in. I think the army will have to be on its guard, and with greater tension on the LAC, small incidents could escalate. So this action, and that is why I am saying, we all thought, all right, wherever they are, and there's talks going on about disengagement. Now, suddenly, if you are escalating it, if you are carrying out provocative engagements in other areas, I think it will only lead to greater tension. And also, as I said, I mean, we heard that, political level talks are going to take place, and the defense minister is going to talk to them in Russia. I mean, what happens to those kind of talks?
Shreya Dhondiyal and Maha Siddiqui both with me on the broadcast. Shreya tracks the Ministry of Defence. Maha Siddiqui keeps a very close eye on the Ministry of External Affairs. Shreya, what exactly happened? What is the statement from the Indian Army?
The statement from the Indian Army is talking about the Indian Army's preemptive move. Essentially, what happens is on the intervening night of 29th and 30th, the Indian surveillance picks up Chinese movement. This Chinese movement is coming towards the southern bank, towards Indian territory, with the intention of occupying it. This is where we are told that the Indian Army was absolutely ready for this. It is something that they had anticipated, plus their intelligence, was constantly telling them that the Chinese will be up to something in southern banks, which, by the way, are areas where there has never been any previous conflict. So the Indian Army was ready. They went ahead. They got out. They occupied some of its own positions on the southern bank, which the Chinese were planning to come and occupy. Now, importantly, what we are being told is at no point of time were there any clashes, any skirmishes, or any physical engagement between the two troops. So there were no clashes on the intervening night of 29th and 30th. Therefore, there were no injuries. So that is the one big clarification that is now coming in from sources within the Indian Army. Now, the other big thing to note here, Arunima, is the second question that I obviously put to my sources, that are the Chinese still there or have they gone back? So what I have been told, and this is worrying, is that the Chinese are still there. Indian and Chinese troops are not face to face in the southern bank, but they are in the general vicinity. They are very close to their line of actual control, which means tensions in the area still continue, which is why India has mobilized around 800 to 1,000 additional troops for this one area, this Chushul area, that we are seeing. This is the latest theater of conflict that we are seeing. It is in Chushul itself, Arunima, right now, that a flag meeting is happening between the brigade commander and his Chinese counterpart. This again will last a while now. And this brigade level meeting, this flag meeting that we are talking about, is happening specifically to talk about this 29th, 30th ingress that the Chinese tried to make. Because the point India will be making, of course, is that, we've had multiple levels of talks. The situation hasn't gone back to status quo ante, but at least the peace has held since June 14th. Then why come inside Indian territory? Why try and ingress? Why try to be provocative? What the Indian Army sources are telling us is that this was a very serious move by the Chinese army. If the Indians were not ready, then the situation would be what it is today, right now, at the northern banks, where the Chinese have come in and occupied Indian territory.
Maha, the popular perception seemed to be that India wanted to resolve the Chinese issue by going down the diplomacy route. Military confrontation was something that India wanted to avoid. But after the action that the Indian Army has taken today, pressure is little off from our diplomats?
Well, not really, because, there are 3 areas where the disengagement has not happened despite 5 rounds of core commander level talks and 4 rounds of the WMCC format talks, that is at the diplomatic level, working mechanism on coordination and consultation for border affairs. Despite all these talks, we have seen that disengagement has been stalled at the northern bank, as Shreya is pointing out, of Pangong Lake, in Gogra and Depsang. Despite that, we are seeing another attempt that has been made by the Chinese PLA, this time on the southern bank of Pangong. So certainly the situation has been aggravated by the Chinese side. Moreover, what is also surprising, Arunima, is that the Chinese side have been trying to push a narrative for the last over 3 weeks, suggesting that the disengagement is over, suggesting that the situation has gone back to status quo ante. But India has very categorically, in the Ministry of External Affairs briefings, the spokesperson Anurag Srivastava has very clearly stated that disengagement is in progress, but it is not yet over. So clearly the attempt by the Chinese side, as you can see, Arunima, is to change the status quo, is to change the situation on the ground. India is clearly resisting that, and in the latest attempt, it has taken a preemptive action and thwarted that attempt.
Right. Maha, Shreya, thank you so much for joining us. Maha Siddiqui and Shreya Dhondial there explaining what the latest round of Chinese aggression really means for India. Now, meanwhile, Congress has demanded answers from the government on this issue. Party spokesperson Randeep Surjewala has said Prime Minister Modi must answer on the latest flashpoints at the line of actual control.
आए दिन चीनी दुस्साहस और चीनी घुसपैठ की खबरें सामने आ रही हैं। आए दिन भारत की अस्मिता पर अतिक्रमण हो रहा है, हमारी सरजमी पर कब्जा किया जा रहा है, परंतु मोदी सरकार है कहां? कभी गलवान वैली में 20-20 भारतीय सैनिकों की वीरगति, कभी गोगरा स्प्रिंग्स पर चीनी कब्जा, कभी फिंगर 4 से फिंगर 8 तक चीनी कब्जा। देश की सेनाएं तो रक्षा कर रही हैं, वो तो निडर होकर सीना थामे खड़ी हैं, परंतु देश के प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी कहां हैं? उनकी लाल आंख चीन को दिखाकर वो बात कब करेंगे? चीन को करारा जवाब कब देंगे?
Well, being provocative is innate with the Chinese philosophy. They have to be provocative, and we've been seeing it in this particular instance also, that all along they've been very, very provocative. Secondly, they want to expand the canvas as also exploit new opportunity. This is a line which is coming across the Pangong as per their perception.
Yes.
So they want to now come this side also, so that there's another face-off which is likely to take place over here. Commitment is just a word with China. It is also a word not to be honored.